Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are now listening to That Infernal Noise podcast, part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. Fuck yeah.
What up, y'all? It's been a minute, month and a half, to be completely transparent. I would say life's been lifing, but it really hasn't. It's been kind of chill lately. Well, I mean, sort of chill. Nisha's going through her own shit, and that's been somewhat difficult. And with work and everything last month, which was insane to say the least, I didn't really have the wherewithal to record, and I've been trying to give her a break as much as possible and take some off of her plate. And we're going to get back into it here within the next couple of days. But everything's been somewhat difficult emotionally. I'll let Niche tell her story and what she's been going through whenever we start recording together again. But today, as I record this, it's the day after the anniversary of the passing of my mom. I was planning on recording yesterday, but as guilty as I feel for saying it, I was having too good of a day yesterday. And I didn't want to bring that down. The day started off easy enough. Nietzsche and I stayed in bed later than we normally do because I just didn't want to get up. Not in a bad way. On Sundays, I enjoy sleeping in and just relaxing as much as possible. We ended up getting up after 10, and I had to pick up for my edibles at 11, or to pick up after 11. So we took our time. Me, her, and Logan made the trek to do that. And on the way out there, I was just thinking, because it's about a 45-minute drive, unfucking fortunately, but that's another conversation. And I was just listening to music, and I was just thinking, what would I do today? And I thought about, I should be more depressed. I should be more upset, more hurt. All of these things. Like, just every manner of bullshit. Because I don't know how to feel. I didn't know how to feel. It was difficult. Somewhat. And in the 2 days leading up to it, one, Mom passed on the 8th. 2, Grandma passed on the 6th the year before. I got in my feelings on Friday, my grandma's 2nd anniversary. And I don't know why. I mean, it's stress, and obviously there's a lot of things I didn't process, didn't have the time to process, however you want to phrase it, from Grandma. Because I had just started getting in a good place on her anniversary last year, and then 2 days later my mom dropped. And it tore me the fuck up. Like it's destroyed my entire life. everything that I've worked for, all the progress that I made. It wasn't undone, but it was real hard to hold on to after that. Through all of it, I managed to stay sober, which, if you know anything about me and how I was previously, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. I did go back to smoking for a little bit. Not happy about that one, but I've been able to kick it since. And last year put everything into perspective. Not everything, but a lot into perspective. It put my growth and my mentality in the light speed, basically. It's like it's shit or get off the pot time. And I stopped making excuses for people, for myself, for whatever. And I just don't tolerate. Like, I already didn't tolerate shit. Because that's just the type of personality that I have. I don't. If I feel like I'm being wronged, I don't give a fuck about your feelings anymore. And I didn't think that part could get worse, but it did. And it sucks. It's very lonely. But I also know it's for the best. Because if it's meant for me, it'll be here. If it's not, it's not. And I can't trip on that anymore. I can't keep pining over things that I've pined over for God knows how long. The better part of 20 years, probably. It's unfortunate. But it is what it is. And my peace is worth whatever suffering and whatever heartache I'll deal with because of it. Thanksgiving was hard for a myriad of reasons. That was the last holiday I got to celebrate with my mom. And the year before, that was the last holiday I got to celebrate with my grandma. Yada yada. That shit just doesn't feel the same anymore without them. It already felt odd with grandma gone, and then once mom passed, it was night and day. There's no sense of normalcy with it anymore. Then I got a little bit better. I mean, Thanksgiving wasn't terrible at all. I got to spend time with my cousin's kids, who are that's my nieces and nephews. Like, I don't give a shit. Those are my kids too, and I love spending time with them. I love spending time with all the kids in my family. I feel like that's my job. Like, I'm supposed to be Uncle Robert. I'm supposed to be dad too, but you know what I mean. Like, those kids mean the world to me. All of them. All 6 of them so far. And I got a little bit better. And then I got a little bit worse. And then Friday, like I was saying, something small and minute happened between Nish and I, and I just kind of snapped. Like, I realize, and I talked about it a little bit before on previous episodes, that I figured out what the issue has been with me my entire life. And it's BPD. It's borderline personality disorder. And I check a lot of the boxes. It could just be undiagnosed ADHD too. But with the way that I react historically to things and the feelings that I have, I'm almost certain it's BPD. And younger, if I had gone for diagnoses younger, I definitely would have been diagnosed with it, I think. Because it was debilitating. It controlled my life, and I couldn't get shit done because of it. It ruled me in a very big bad way. But now, I've been dealing with it for so long. Like, I remember, I was probably 8 or 9 the first time I can remember splitting. And for those that don't know, splitting in the BPD world, it's not just BPD, but in general, is extreme black or white thinking. And I didn't know it had a term until I started researching everything and going through this clusterfuck of a journey. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. But having a name to put to the demon, I guess, it's felt like it's taken a little bit of its power away. And the only time the splitting happens now is whenever I'm super stressed and hyper emotional. Like that combination does it to me. Like most people. And something that should be insignificant triggers something way bigger. And it turns into World War III. Luckily, I'm able to control it somewhat and not go completely off the deep end anymore. It's just kind of off the deep end. I don't like logic in those times, as Niche so graciously pointed out. I don't like facts. I like feeling my emotion and just letting it all out. And usually that's not a healthy way to do it. It's not a healthy way for me to do it, for sure. Because I go. That's the only way I can explain it. I go left. And she's the only one that sees that side of me. Other people have seen it in my life, but she has felt it in a big bad way. She's been the brunt of a lot of shit that she shouldn't have been the brunt of. And because of that, she is now struggling herself. And it's not just me, it's a lot of shit that she never allowed herself to deal with. And because of everything that's happened in the past 2 years, it really has built and built to the point where she's not herself anymore. And she's trying, she's fighting, she is clawing tooth and nail to try to get better through all of this. As am I. And it is supremely difficult at times. I'm trying to give her the space that she needs and deserves, but sometimes I get in my feelings about it and I take it personal and then I split, and then I've been doing good about not splitting until Friday. Like I can sense it and feel it coming, and I'm able to work myself down instead of working myself up. Like I get worked up and then I'm able to work myself back down. For me, it's usually music. It's familiar things. Things that I know. Things that I'm emotionally connected to. I don't know. All of this has just been really difficult. I don't like where my brain goes sometimes. It's the whole reason I started this podcast in the first place, because that's why I call it that infernal noise, because it's the shit up here. You know, I'm constantly thinking. It's not always good. In fact, up until recently, it was mostly bad. But something happened whenever Mom died. Suddenly. Very suddenly. It broke me. It broke me in a very bad way. Very bad way. And funnily enough, I use my journal every night. Talk about the day and to give myself perspective. And last night, like I knew all day that I was going to be writing to Mom. Last night. I knew it. Because it felt right. It felt like that's what I was supposed to do. And I did. And I wrote a good bit. Because I miss her. And in it, I talk about how neither one of us would have expected, being me and my mom, would have expected me to react this way. For a long time, I thought I wasn't going to care whenever she passed. I really believe that because of our history. And, I mean, things weren't done right on her side, which led to things not being done right on my side, which has caused a lot of regret and a lot of hurt and unresolved issues. I mean, they're resolved now because there's literally nothing that can be done about them. Like, there's no amount of making up because she's gone. And I've had to make peace with that. But it's hard. It's real fucking hard. Because I go back and forth. I oscillate between, God, I love her, I miss her, to, why didn't you fix yourself earlier? Why didn't you take better care of yourself? And I get irritated about it. And then I go back to, well, she was trying at the end. She was doing the proper things. She was going to the doctor. She was including me in the things that were going on with her medically, so I was aware. She was trying to take care of herself. She was trying to address her mental health in her way. She was making amends. She was trying to make it up to me. Close to the end, as far as I can see it. And we made peace less than 2 months before she passed. I mean, like, really, really made peace. Where I told her I understood her. And I finally got it. And that was a very important moment for both of us. Because in my almost 40th year, I finally got it. I finally understood who my mom was as a person. And I regret that it took that long. But neither one of us were ready for that before it. Neither one of us wanted to take accountability for our own bullshit. Because we're both stubborn. I had to get it from somewhere. And since then, I've taken accountability for everything that I've done. All the people that I've hurt, including my wife and kids, especially my wife and kids. Because I refuse to have the relationship with my kids that my mom and I had. If they decide to hate me, if they decide to resent me, I accept that. I really do. As much as it would hurt. As much as it does hurt at times whenever they're distant. Especially my oldest. But he's grown. He's living his own life, and that's what he's supposed to do. It's exactly what he's supposed to do, and I am immensely proud of him. And I'm immensely proud of him for being the first one of his siblings to truly stand up to me and put everything on Front Street with me. And this has all happened in the past year. He had a lot of emotional issues that were unresolved because of the abuse that I put him through. Mostly emotional and mental. There were times that I got into his face physically. There were times that I held him up against the wall. And I know it traumatized him. And he didn't deserve that. Neither did Kaylee. And with everything with Mom and Grandma, it put everything into perspective. That's not the type of dad I want to be. And Chris and Kay get like, oh, you guys need to get hit more. Talking about the younger two. Because they're way more spoiled than Chris and Kaylee was. Chris and Kaylee were spoiled too. Don't let them ever lie to you. But I don't want to be that parent anymore. I don't want to be that type of dad. I used to think that fear equaled respect. And it doesn't. It's just fear. I don't want my kids to fear me. I want them to respect me. I want them to understand me. I want them to know that I'm not fucking perfect. Never have been. And I don't want to be perfect. I don't even know what perfect is. I want to be me. I want to be their dad. And that's where I'm at now. All of this has put everything in perspective. And above everything, I just want to be happy. I want my wife to be happy. I want my kids to be happy. Whatever that means. And I've even told Niche this. If she wakes up tomorrow and decides that everything she's been through with me is too much, she doesn't want to be with me anymore, so be it. Because she deserves to be happy. She deserves to be content and at peace. And if I'm not bringing her peace, if I'm not comforting her, I have to accept the fact that she deserves it. And she deserves to go find it. Not necessarily with another person or anything, but just with herself. And that's what I want. And the same thing with the kids. If it ever is too much for them to deal with, and they need to distance themselves, I totally understand that. Because I put each of them through a lot. Different ways, different situations, but it's still a lot. And I take my part of that. Because they didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve to be around the shit that they were around. They didn't deserve to hear the shit that they heard or experience it or go through it very directly. And again, I learned all that through all the soul searching I did because of me and my mom's relationship. It really put a microscope up to everything. And I realized how bad I fucked up in a lot of people's lives. And I don't tolerate that anymore. I don't tolerate myself treating my kids like shit. Am I always mentally and emotionally available? Probably not, because I've been dealing with my own shit. But I try to remain as present as possible for them and not react emotionally to things with them, especially. I try to accept it and hear it for what it is. Because they deserve that. They deserve the best version of their dad possible. And me reacting the way that I used to, that's not it. I had a bad day Friday. I had a bad day Saturday. Because it's this weird in-between day. I'm losing my two moms. It's just the limbo day. Where I just went through the anniversary of something traumatic, and then I'm looking to the next day at something traumatic coming towards me. And I didn't handle it well. I played a lot of video games. I took a fucking microdose and that barely worked. It calmed me down a little bit, but usually it gets rid of everything, and it didn't. That shows you how bad it was. And at the end of the night, I just kind of broke down. and I just want I just wanted peace that day. And I said my prayers and I talked to Mom and Jody and Grandma and just I asked them to help me. I need your help. I can't do this alone. I need you guys. Well, like, whatever you can do, please let me find my peace right now because this is fucking hard. And I went to bed and woke up Sunday morning. Fine. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than that I had a peace that I hadn't felt consistently in a while. I just felt calm. And then we went to pick up, and I decided I wanted IHOP. Why I decided I wanted IHOP? Because whenever I was a kid, one of the longest stretches I lived with Mom and her husband, it was a very traumatic time for me because I wasn't allowed to see the rest of my family. And we would go to church, just me and Mom. He didn't go at the time. And it was a different church, so there wasn't the chance of us running into our family. I remember feeling so isolated during that time. But one of the shining lights in that time was I got my mom to myself on Sundays. We went to the different church, and then after, actually, honestly, I can't remember if it was before or after, but regardless, she used to take me to IHOP every Sunday. And I would get the silver tin because I didn't like eggs. And I wasn't a huge fan of like bacon and sausage at the time. And we just eat and talk. I don't even remember what the conversations would be about, but it just meant a lot to me. It was the one time that I got my mom to myself. Older. A little bit older, at least. And it's always stuck with me. That's always stuck with me. That's why I have such an affinity for IHOP. That's why I have such an affinity for El Phoenix. It's because I associate it with her and with my family. Regardless of other people's opinions about it. Either of the places. And Logan was with Nish and I, and he was just like, "Oh, this is bussin'." I was like, thanks for taking us to IHOP, Dad." And I just looked at him. I was like, "You need to thank your mama." And first he tried to thank Nish, and Nish was like, "No, he said mama, not mama." And he kind of looked at me, and I told the story that I just told you guys. And he just kind of smiled. And in true Logan fashion, he looked up. He was like, "Thank you, Momo." That just made me happy. He has such a simple understanding of it. And that's the way it should be. We spent the rest of the afternoon running errands, which I think is a good idea. So I wasn't just sitting here dwelling and thinking. I actually got out and did something. And there wasn't a negative feeling. Like, yeah, it sucked. But this year was remarkably better than last year and the year before. I don't know what's coming. I don't know if there's anything on the horizon that's going to humble me again, or worse. But as of right now, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with whatever comes. There's a peace that we are all finding after this past 2 years. And I'm speaking specifically about myself, my sister, and our cousins. Because on Friday, Vic started a group chat with the 5 of us, and I wrote about it in my journal, somewhat talking to Grandma, and just saying that she would have been so proud of us for checking on each other, for taking care of each other, for trying to make each other laugh on what is a horrendous day for our family. It's a horrendous time of year for our family now. We looked after each other that day. They looked after me. I looked after them. And the next day, I got up and I felt the need, once everything settled down, to message that group and just tell them how much I love them and how proud of them I am. And I took a picture of a picture that is sitting on my desk. And the picture is of the 5 of us sitting on my tia's couch. And it's one of the few pictures of all 5 of us together. And it was a good day. It was Katie's birthday. I can't remember if it was her 21st or not. I feel like it was somewhere around there. It was either 20th or 21st. I don't remember. But it was Katie's birthday. I know that. And it was just so nice. It's one of my favorite pictures, and I have it right next to a mug that has my kids' pictures on it, because it means that much to me. And of course, I tell them I love them, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's sweet. I love you." Da, da, da. And then whenever my sister sees it, one word response: gay. And it's just, it made me laugh. It made me laugh because that's my sister. And of course, that's what she would say. And I know she doesn't actually think that. Like, we're emotional together. But whenever everybody's being emotional, she immediately tries to crack a joke. I wonder where the fuck she got that from. And that too made me happy. It's just like, God, that's my sister. And we checked on each other yesterday. She had a good day too. And I am very grateful for that. Because I worry about her a lot. Especially after everything. But she's got her support system. I have mine. And we're both doing well with it. I wish that Mom was here to celebrate some of this shit with us. To celebrate our victories and how Sis and I have grown. Even in just the past year. How the kids have grown. The things that are coming up. I do wish she was here for it. But I think somehow she still is. She has to be. I can still feel her at times. I can still see her rolling her eyes at something Sis and I would say, or I could see it. I could feel it. Just like I can with Grandma. Just like I could still hear Jody's laugh at times. Like, he would have fucking loved this. Like, I don't even remember what it was the other day. But Nisha and I were talking about something, and I was like, Jody would have fucking loved this. She's like, yeah, he would have. I was like, I wouldn't even had to show him. Whatever it was. It was something music related, I think. And I was like, he probably would have found it on his own. And then we would have talked about it. And he was like, yeah, probably would have. I know that whenever it's all said and done, and whenever it's my turn to go, I don't want to leave my wife and my kids with heartache. I don't want them to have relief that I'm gone. I want them to be happy that I'm finally at peace. And that's what I've had to figure out with my mom. She is at peace. She has to be. She deserves it after all that. After everything. She deserves it. She deserves to have all of her toes back. She deserves to have her smile back. All of it. And I know when I see that bright white light, she's going to be the first one there. I know it. I just feel it. I can see it sometimes. And while that whole idea scares the shit out of me, it makes it a little bit better to know that they'll all be there whenever the time comes to comfort me, to make it a little bit easier. To help guide me like they have since they've all passed. Except in a very direct way. I'm not looking for it. I'm definitely not looking for it anytime soon. But I've had a hard time accepting mortality in my life in general, much less since all this shit. And I think I'm at a decent place right now. I know I'm at a decent place right now. All of this has taught me to really take care of myself and to be myself. Not what everybody else wants me to be or needs me to be or whatever. I need to be myself. I need to take care of myself. I help where I can, when I can. But ultimately, it's on me. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of other people. And if other people don't want to take care of themselves, I can't force them to. I can just do my part. I thank you, Mom, for the clarity, for the strength, for the will to keep going, to truly find myself again and figure out who I am as a person. I've stumbled, I've fallen, done stupid shit. But just like everything else, the stupid shit has taught me who I really am now. and who I want to be, not who I was. I want to be a better person, and I'm going to be. It's just a long, hard road out of hell. But I can see the light now. I can see what good can be done. And what that means. And that's all I'm trying to focus on. So, with all that, people just keep in mind, especially during these holidays, a lot of people are struggling. I myself had seasonal depression before all this shit. And now it's a little bit more difficult. Be mindful. Be mindful of what other people are going through, because you don't know. They may be putting on a brave face, but they may be struggling. Maybe they're thinking of the people that they lost. Maybe somebody that they love is sick. They can't celebrate. Maybe they're estranged. Maybe any number of things that you wouldn't want to go through on your fucking worst day. Be considerate. And take care of each other. Take care of yourself.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you like this episode or know someone who would, please help us grow the show by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Keep up with all episodes on Buzzsprout or anywhere else you get your podcasts.